Here. Quick setting tweak. Good, good, good. All right, James, we got you on the line.
Yeah, we do. What's up?
Nothing much, man. Nothing much. So this is the apparently depressing Cowboys post-game show for the Dallas Prospect. I'm joined by Big Game James of Silver and Blue Nation. And
Yes,
it's not
sir.
a fun time to be a Cowboy fan, but damn it, we've got to talk about it. We've got to break it down. So comes with the territory, right?
It definitely does, especially if you're a Cowboys anything. You're always in the limelight, and you're always it's either good or bad, but you're always going to be talking about some kind of Cowboy something.
Yep, absolutely, absolutely. So I only was able to catch a little bit of your post game show you guys did after the game, which that was I think awesome that you guys were even set up to do that. That's definitely the ideal time to go live for something like that. But
Hmm.
what's your immediate takeaway from a game like this where Dallas never really feels like? Well, I'll let you explain. What are your takeaways?
Well, I mean, my biggest takeaway that I mentioned on the show was this was just to me. Now, everybody is clamoring about the coach, and you had 2 weeks to prepare it, and then you come in and something like this. I think the biggest thing with me is in the very beginning of this game, I can't lie, I felt like we should beat them, but I had the thought of, are we going to beat them?
Mm,
Because we're Dallas is the team that, like I was saying on my show, like we're the team that if they're not doing good against any other team, they'll come in against Dallas and do good against us. We're the team that if you're not doing good at anything, you can come again against Dallas and do what you want. You'll have those records. And lo and behold, it happened again. It's just the same old thing. You had the Tennessee Titans, who were 30th ranked
yep.
in points scored. They were only averaging 15 points a game. They were almost dead last in a lot of major categories in the offensive statistics. And basically, like I said, the Miami Dolphins beat them. The Buffalo Bills beat them. They were showing no kind of offense at all. Delaney Walker was hurt. He was out. They only had really Corey Bird, I believe, was one of their really main assets. Lewis. But Mariota was having not a great year at all. 3 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, only 1,000 yards passing. Looking uneven this whole year, even though he had the injury. He
Hmm.
comes in and contests, and what does he do? 21 of 29, over 230 yards. He was precise in his throws. He had time. You know how many that I posted a thing on the video how many third down
11 to
uh,
14 on third down.
11 of 14
Yep.
on fourth down, and that's just from an offense that struggled. You
Yeah.
get what I'm saying? And it's just the same thing. And it's like, when are we going to say, okay, yes, we understand the players need to play. You look at some of the formations that were going on and some of the missed blocking. I posted that on my page as well. That was atrocious. And you're
Hmm.
wondering, why are they still doing this after week 8?
Yeah. No, absolutely, I agree. And the as we've seen at times this season, the offense initially opens the game, looks decent, has a decent drive, and then it stalls somewhere between. Sometimes it's as early as the second drive, other times it's the third or fourth drive. But regardless, it just like hits a wall, and then it's like nothing is moving. And in this game, some of the stuff that I laid out in our just text and everything. This is looking a little down the road, but this shows just how quickly we kind of like abandoned our identity, which I think is an indictment on the play calling and general coaching. The last carry for Zeke came with 4:32 left in the third quarter, and that was a one-score game at the time. Like that's
That's
mind-boggling.
crazy.
Yeah,
That's
that's
crazy.
mind-boggling. There's no reason that should happen, and yet we're sticking with Linehan as the play caller. But to balance that out, I'm not just putting it all on the coaching staff. In the article I put out today for Dallas Sports Fanatic, which again made it to Bleacher Report, and I put out a subsequent video that kind of pairs with that or is an adaptation of that if you want to look at it that way on the channel as well. But what I talked about basically where the team is at and where all the blame should lie. Obviously, we have blame regarding the coaching staff as far as Garrett and Linehan, the play calling, the game planning, the clock management, things like that. But we also have, obviously Dak is going to get a share of that as well. His pocket presence was terrible, I thought, yesterday. That fumble, he had the ball, it felt like, for an eternity before the sack came about. And at
Hmm.
times he's rolling out of the pocket, and he's like rolling away from his protection right into the teeth of the defense, it seems like at times. So he's definitely struggling. Of course, that interception early in the game, Dallas that's where the turning point of the game was. People talk about, this 80-yard drive by the Titans that got them on the board after 2, almost 3 quick turnovers. But to me, Dallas should have been up 17-0 in this game. But the opening drive, they moved the ball well. They miss a 38-yard field goal from Brett Maher. And then the next drive, they do get the touchdown, but it's a short field thanks to the defense. Defense gives them another short field, not quite as short as the first one, but still a short field, I think at like the Titans' 43-yard line, something like that. And they get down there, 2nd and goal from the 5, and Dak forces a ball into double coverage, trying to hit Cooper again, and it's picked off. And instead of at least 13 points, if not 17 points, it's 7-0, and then the Titans go 80 yards and tie the game. Like, to me, that was a pivotal point in this game, because this Dallas team doesn't look resilient to me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I definitely understand what you mean, and I think maybe that they maybe grown tired of Jason Garrett. You know that we always hearing about the team continues to fight for Garrett. The team continues to fight, but you know what? I've been looking at this season. It's been looking like there's been some times where once the team gets up on us, we kind of just give it up. You know what I mean? And like I said, you got a guy who has been struggling comes against us who has been undefeated at home. A guy comes in struggling, and what does he do? They scored 28 freaking points on us, and he's looking like a world beater all of a sudden. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Now then, also you take at just like what you were talking about, how we don't have the resilience. It's just like I was just thinking, like, why does Jason Garrett always receive the kick? You know why? Probably because he don't even have no confidence. He don't have the confidence that if they get the ball first and they score on us first, that we can come back and score on them. Because honestly, just like you said, that was a turning point in the game. When we don't get up and take those advantages of those opportunities, we're not a good enough team to be able to come back and like another team would, who is like a playoff caliber team. This is not a playoff caliber team, because if you get down 7 to 10 points on the Dallas Cowboys, it's very hard to come back.
Yeah.
You either look at the play calling, you on the one, is it going to be good quarterback play? Is it going to be a bonehead mistake? Is it going to be a big game with a penalty? Or is it going to, you know what I'm saying? It's always little tiny things that always shoot the offense in the foot and the team as a whole. And as I said, to me, it's just like a culture now. When people say, oh, culture doesn't exist, I believe culture does exist. And I believe the person that's over top of it, I said it's Jerry. And, a lot of people won't say it's Jerry because, it's Jerry Jones.
Right.
He owns the Dallas Cowboys. Nobody wants to say Jerry. Everybody wants to focus on coaching, and that is a part of it. And trust and believe, I already said my piece about Garrett. But at the end of the day, who keeps Garrett? Who's the one that allows this to happen? The article with Troy Aikman was beautiful to me. I don't care. I like Troy Aikman. I like what he says. I respect what he does and what he brings to the game on and off the field. And basically what he says is, you know what? It's beyond the coaches. You know what? He's changed coaches. And guess what? It's the same thing.
Yeah.
You had Chan Gailey, same thing. You had Dave Campo, same thing. I mean, you got the one with Barry Switzer. That was a lot of the players. Beyond that, then you had Wade Phillips. The same thing. It's always the same kind of issues when you hear about the Cowboys. What was they talking about when Wade Phillips was there? He's too light. He's too easy. Dallas does what they want.
Country club atmosphere.
You feel me? And then when we get Barcells, always too hard on the guys, and he runs them in the ground too bad. You know what I mean? It's always kind of something with the Dallas Cowboys, and I believe Jerry Jones allows that. And I feel like his time has passed. You don't, to me, get 3 Super Bowls in that heyday. It goes away as far as what happened in that mix, and then now you're trying to chase that dream. 23 years later, you're all of a sudden going to get it. And look at the mistakes that you keep on making in your decision-making with your coaching. Now, all of a sudden, you're going to win a Super Bowl sometime soon within the next few years.
Yeah.
Honestly, I just don't see it, and I'm not trying to be bleak, but I also got to be real.
Right. Yeah, I mean, this team has all kinds of issues. Another one that sticks out to me, obviously, that we haven't touched on just yet, was I thought the offensive line was really bad last night. 5 sacks all in the second half. Now, again, Dak contributed a little bit to that as well. But they also had costly penalties. That's one of the reasons Zeke's last carry came when it did, because when it was still a 1-score game, you have a critical holding penalty that backs you up. I think they had 2 penalties on the same drive that puts you in long yardage. And when that happens, you're effectively taking Zeke out of the drive, because even though Zeke is a good weapon, he's not a prevalent pass catcher. At least they're not utilizing him as such. And so you're removing the threat and you're putting all of the burden on Dak Prescott's shoulders, and that's not a good place to be. Now, for Dak's case, I mentioned this. He's regressed. He's clearly regressed, because in 2016, if you think about it, Dak used to make big plays in big moments. Even if he was having a bad game, he made big plays in big moments. Now the opposite is true. Aside from his drive in Washington that gave them a chance, it's the opposite. Now he's the guy that's fumbling at the goal line to push the lead to 10, or fumbling in a critical situation that leads to a 7-point deficit becoming a 14-point deficit. And it's just something where it's like, if you have to put the game on his shoulders, you're screwed right now. This coaching staff, I don't know if it's his confidence, if it's just that he's regressed, mentally in that capacity with regard to what he's seeing and how he's feeling like he needs to react to certain coverages or something. I don't know exactly what it is, but he's clearly taken a step back. And the only way, because Jerry reaffirmed again this morning, Dak Prescott will be extended in Dallas. And I say that, but I guess the flip side of that you could point to, it makes no sense, because we don't even have a first-round pick next year. It makes no sense to put that in Dak's head of like, now after his performance last night, maybe we take that away. So I guess if I want to look at the other side of the coin, maybe you can see that. But regardless, his quote is that Dak will be extended in Dallas. So it's like, okay, we got Dak for at least 1, if not 2 more years. Probably a new coaching staff by then, because this next stretch is going to be brutal. I think Dallas is going to effectively be unintentionally tanking with no first-round draft pick to reward them.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be tough, because, like you said, it's going to be an unintentional tanking. I don't think they're going to actually do that, but I just think that other teams are just going to beat us. Because they're just better than us. And
I was just trying to hit the key word of tanking. I didn't really mean tanking.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I just feel like right now, Jerry has committed, and we should all understand that Dak was going to be the quarterback at least until that contract was out. So 2019 he was going to be the quarterback too. So everybody was talking about drafts and a quarterback, this and that. No. But I definitely did say, even this year, I stated we should have went out there and got Teddy Bridgewater.
Yeah.
I keep on saying that guy, because isn't he a backup on the Saints right now?
Yeah, they tried to deal him to the Jaguars at the deadline, but they couldn't work it out.
Exactly. So at the end of the day, why did the Jaguars want him? You feel me? Blake Bortles, we don't trust you. We don't think you can get it to what we need to do. Yes, we got a good defense, but you're not making the plays. So guess what? We want to go with a guy that can make plays. And I think maybe they didn't do that for Dak's psyche, because if he had a Bridgewater behind him, he feels safe with a Cooper Rush. Okay, I don't care. I don't feel like the Cooper Rush is a threat, because Cooper Rush is never going to start in the NFL.
True.
Mike White, he's not going to play this year. But if you had a Teddy Bridgewater sitting behind him and he was playing uneven, that's more of a threat, because the Teddy Bridgewater was a top draft pick, and he has done well in the league before the injury. You get what I'm saying? So that's more of a psychic threat to me. Just like when we have Romo, they never got any guys behind him to push him, to make him feel comfortable that this is his spot. Now I feel like they're kind of doing Dak the same way, kind of maybe coddling him, making him feel like, okay, you're going to be the guy, which is cool. But at the end of the day, if we're going to make that, then let's get a staff that's going to try to make this work. Because obviously, Jerry, you with your own eyes, if you're a football guy, see that this is not working with this coaching staff. It continues to be the same thing over and over. And you can't continue to have that and think you're going to be successful. Do we really think that we would have an outlook of greatness going in next year with that same staff? I think Jerry's just saying this just to keep everybody kind of get through the season. You understand what I'm saying? Get through the season, and he's going to put his foot in the ground because he wants to get through this season now. So he's going to double down on what he believes in. That's what Jerry does. But that off season, especially if we're not looking good, Lanahan is going to be gone. I don't know what's going to happen with Jason Garrett, but to me, D, the biggest thing to me is as long as Jerry is there over top of it, I don't see us winning another title. And I hate to say it, it hurts me. I don't even want to feel that way. But it's the ways that he does it, it doesn't build success right now.
Yeah. I understand what you're saying for sure. Quick shout out here to Justin Q. We got in the house Stevie Mack, Brendan T. What's up? See, we got G Garcia and Ryan England as well on the prospect page. I'm taking a glance as well at the Big Game James page where we also are. We got J Uga Murray, Thomas Dixon. What's up, guys? And let's see, Justin. What's up as well? Brian. What's up, guys? But yeah, no, I agree absolutely. They have to really figure some things out, and I think the coaching staff has to be. I mean, if you're Garrett in particular, just look at the different layers, or rather, look at the coaches that have passed through his system. Right? How many position coaches have turned over, and even coordinators in his tenure, which is now 9 years long as a head coach, if you include his interim head coach stint. And I think he had, 3 years as an offensive coordinator as well. He's been here for like 13 years. And there have been 3, maybe you could argue 4 Dallas teams that were good and could have done something in that. And as a head coach, he got 1 win. And as an offensive coordinator, he got 1 win. His 14 and 16 team should have done so much more than they did. That 14 team could have been the Super Bowl team that we had been waiting on. And the 16 team should have at least been in the NFC Championship game. So I feel like you have to look at that. If you're stuck with Dak anyway, which we are, and to your point, you were talking about how they've kind of coddled him and everything. I think that's a mistake, obviously, too, as you were insinuating, because he played his best football, if you think about it, when Romo was healthy to return in 16. He had Romo breathing down his neck, and it made him better. Right now, he's not worried about consequence. I mean, yeah, you want to win the game, but I don't think he has that same fear of consequence because he knows they're not going to put in Cooper Rush over me. They're damn sure not going to put in White over me.
Right. So you don't feel that, and Dallas has continually done that. And since I've been really watching Cowboys, like under them, they get those skilled players, and they don't. It seems like they don't get those players behind them that really push them. When they get those superstar players, they don't want anybody bothering them and let them just be the star. Well, I just feel like you always got to have people behind them pushing them to say, you know what, if you don't do this, your job could be gone. That's what makes you better as a player, because of that threat of always you could lose your job. I mean, that's the way it is. It's all the way that in life. But now you see, just like I said, the defense, I mean, it's still playing admirable. I mean, you look at the stats across the board, even on the defense, that, you know, the way they played out, giving up 28 points. But, I mean, still 4th overall in total defense, 5th in passing yards, 10th in rushing yards. It's still 3rd in points allowed, not bad. But at the end of the day, the offense has to make those plays. It's like we can't never make the critical plays. And also, it's just like whenever there's a big play, there's a mistake. It's mental. Why is it mental? That's the biggest thing that's bothering me. It's the same mental mistakes. And we played 8 games. Dallas played 8 games. And you still, like I said, those blocking assignments, and this is at home?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, you're missing blocking assignments like that. And then this team was reeling. Like, you had this team on the ropes. And then you let them back in the game. And it's like, once we get down, I just don't have any confidence we're going to come back. I just don't be feeling it. I feel like, man, we can't get down by 7, especially if it's in the second half, because like you said, Zeke is not going to be utilized in the running game any longer because we're going to have to throw. They don't really throw him the ball in the passing game like that beyond screens, maybe a dump out route. But other than that, it's going to be all on deck. And right now, he hasn't proved that he can take it and win those games. And that's why we're struggling. And you got to get a staff that can figure this out, because if Dak is going to be the quarterback, you need to get a staff that's going to figure this out now, or you're going to waste years of Zeke. You're going to waste years. You got guys to pay, just like you had brought up a few weeks ago. The Marcus Lawrence contract is coming up because he was on the 1-year franchise deal. You got other people's contracts are going to be coming up soon. So you can't just sit there and say, oh, well, we got a few years. No, you have to get this when you can get it now, because your star players may not be there next year due to a contract or injury.
Yeah, absolutely. And to mention the defense, which you mentioned at one point there, or to expound on that. So coming into the game, coming into Monday Night Football, Dallas was actually the top-rated defense with regard to, I guess, total defense, giving up just a hair over 17 points per game. That was after the Baltimore game, in which they Obviously gave up more than that. I think they lost to the Steelers. I don't remember exactly how much they gave up, something like 23. But so Dallas came in as the number 1 defense against, as you mentioned before, the 30th rated offense. And aside from forcing 2 fumbles early on, which really, the second one they just recovered, Tennessee did that themselves. That handoff was so messed up. But it's something where they couldn't stop them at all. Tennessee converted 11 of 14 third downs, and these weren't all 3rd and 1s. Yeah, they got some 3rd and 1s in there, but they converted in the first half. It was like 3rd and 9, 3rd and 9, 3rd and 7, 3rd and 10. They got anything they wanted, and that reminds me, I always look back to, I know, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I know you shared the updated completion percentage and stats against Cheeto in particular, but the whole secondary is allowing a completion percentage, and I don't know what it is now, I know what it was before the game, of 68%, which is the 4th worst in the league. So it's already like you can complete passes against us. We've just been good for the most part about keeping everything in front of us and not giving up the big play. And we still didn't in this game, but even for the defense, you know, I'm going to set aside that busted Jalen Smith effort on the rushing touchdown by Mariota that iced the game. I don't know what that was about. Maybe he had some weird thing in his head about being too aggressive after the LVE roughing call, you know. I don't know, or unnecessary roughness, whatever. But that setting that aside, the defense, which had been so stout in goal line situations in recent weeks, gave up 4 attempts and 4 touchdowns. Like, there wasn't much resistance from the defense, I felt. And that is concerning. If it's a one-off, if the defense can rebound from this and it's just a terrible aberration at the worst possible time, really, I mean, that'll at least keep them in games, but I mean, there are people who are at the point now. Oh, I got a crawler going that's completely unrelated to the post. I just looked up on the screen and saw there's a crawler from my previous stream. Let me find that. Here, you take over for a sec while I sort this.
Okay. Well, just to get back what you was kind of bouncing off of, I mean, when you looked at, do we really have the resilience on the team right now?
All right. No, I don't think they do. Are you still there? Or you kind of faded out.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No, I was making sure. Sometimes the connection can get faulty when I'm sending it through the computer like that. So, but yeah, the defense has problems. If they bounce back, maybe it keeps them in games. But it's something they're going to have to figure out and address. This team has problems on really every level. Even the kicker, who had made 16 straight until 2 weeks ago, now he's missed 2 straight, including now this one, a 38-yarder. Do we have to worry about that? We don't know. He only got 1 kick, or 1 field goal kick. So I don't know. I hope I don't have to worry about that now. That's really the only thing that's kind of so-so. But as we've been talking negative, let's shift here and go a little bit more positive. What was your impression of Amari Cooper and his Cowboys debut?
Oh, he's nasty. I mean, Amari Cooper is everything that it's not like he was not advertised at that, because when I saw him, at Oakland, I loved him. I was like, man, I wish we had a receiver like that, because the biggest thing that I loved about him, G brought it up to me. What do you think Dez Bryant and Amari Cooper are like comparable? Because a person said that, and I said I didn't think so, because Amari Cooper to me was so much more polished in that route running.
Mm-hmm.
He was so much more polished in and out his breaks. That's the one thing that I really loved about Amari was his footwork and him just watching him run his routes was just a thing of art. And you saw it on display, full display yesterday. I mean, he killed Malcolm Butler. He was turning Adoree Jackson all the way around. When he was coming in out of them cuts, boy, he was looking fierce and nice. And we were looking at him early and often, and you saw what he can do. You saw how quick the offense changed when he got on the field for us. You saw what it looks like there could be a nice, bright future with that because of what he changes to the game. The problem is that the offense, does he go away from it? I mean, we're killing them, and then we force it. It's just, to me, it's always something. But if we're looking at just at the Amari Cooper edition, that's an A-plus edition for me. Yes, the first-round pick is gone, but you do have a very dynamic receiver that's can keep you in every game.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, they have definitely some things they're going to have to address on that front. I mean, I liked what I saw from him, and there was his route running is absolutely as advertised. Definitely for a receiver of that size and ability, I think it's been a while since we've had a receiver that good. He goes 5 for 58 with a touchdown, and I mean, considering how little time he's had to work with them, I thought that was pretty impressive. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh hell yeah! I mean,
I was
one game in
definitely
practice.
pleased. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it sucks that Dak tries to force that pass to him. Although I've seen since then a reverse angle on the play showing he's held going into the break of that route. So maybe there's
Yeah,
something there that affects that. But yeah, it's definitely something that I'm encouraged by what we see as far as what he can bring to this offense, because it is clear that in spite of everything they told us before the season, they needed a number one receiver. And now they have one, you see how that opens things up for other guys. We saw, for instance, Allen Hurns got a touchdown, and I think he benefited in that case by Cooper drawing some extra attention because, yeah, he put on a nice double move, but he wasn't drawing the same attention that was seen previously. So even he gets on the board. You see how he can now not look like a complete waste of a contract for Dallas. So there's something there. The only thing in the receiving core that bothered me was Cole Beasley not being targeted until 4:38 left in the game. I don't know how you don't target that guy in that time. That's absurd to me.
I mean, the thing you got to keep Cole in the game every game.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Cole adds so much of a dimension to the team because, like I said, he is one of the better slot receivers in the game. No matter what you say, just because he's not getting the receptions doesn't mean it. Kind of like the thing with Dez Bryant. Now, although Dez Bryant I do feel like was not elite any longer, I did say time and time again that if he left and he needed a good quarterback, a great quarterback, Aaron Rodgers, or Drew Brees, or Tom Brady, or one of those type guys that would get him to where he needed to go. And I would say the same thing with Beasley. If Beasley left with us and went to one of those type of quarterbacks, I think you would see him flourish. The problem is I don't feel like Dak is that guy that slings it around like that, and he still misses. So Cole Beasley's going to miss those opportunities. We've seen plenty of times this year where Cole Beasley has killed people on routes and doesn't get the ball.
Yeah, I mean, that's been a problem for Dak all year. Not just Cole Beasley. We've seen several receivers getting open. Michael Gallup was open a couple times. I mean, I think on the critical fumble by Dak, we had the shot behind the quarterback where you see what he sees. And he's got two guys running open early on in that route, and he just holds on to the ball. His timing's off. I don't know what it is. There's something off with his development. He's regressed pretty significantly, it looks like, from 2016, and that should be the greatest indictment on this coaching staff of all. You would think, from Jerry's perspective, if he's holding up Dak as, no, this is like my golden boy, this is the guy that's going to deliver us, that's got to be the biggest indictment on Garrett that ultimately kills him, because now it's not a small sample size anymore. Now we're a year and a half effectively. Well, I guess right now you could say a full year of terrible tape, mostly terrible tape, and a year and a half of suspect tape. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
But you bring up oh, sorry. I got a transition, but I'll let you say something if it's on the same thing.
Oh, I mean, no, go ahead. I'm going to flow off you. I was just going to kind of look at, how Jerry can always fall back and say, well, and like I said, I told everybody on my show last night, I don't want Dak to fail. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't want Dak not to succeed. I would want him to be the franchise guy, so we don't have to go back to the draft and start all over, because that is so much of a crapshoot. That is one of the hardest things really to gauge if you're going to have a franchise type quarterback. That is not an easy thing to really analyze. From any angle. Some people get it right, some people get it wrong. So I would love for him to do it. But right now, it's not consistent. But Jerry would look at the stats and say, well, dang, he's got 10 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, 62 completion percentage, a quarterback rating of 89. He will say that that's not that bad, and probably try to cushion the system and say, well, it's not that bad. So the only way it's going to be really that bad for Linehan really to go is they're going to have to continue to lose games. Not that we want to, but the brutal stretch that we got these next 4 games, we got at Philly, at Atlanta, who beat us. We Washington, who beat us, really beat us. And then we got the Saints, who, and if they have Dez Bryant, you best believe that's going to be crazy. So
yeah, that's where I was about to go. That feels like the most insane storyline that could come about. But I mean, this team could be in free fall because of what the upcoming schedule looks like. That's why these two previous losses are so bad, so painful, is that now you've got such a brutal stretch coming up, as you said, Atlanta, New Orleans, Philadelphia. I don't know if the Washington rematch comes up soon, but you got another one like that where you could easily lose like 4 of the next 5 or something like that. And in the midst of all of that, Dez Bryant could finally get his belated wish if he signs with the Saints. He worked out with them today. I don't think anything's come down yet. But if he goes to New Orleans, then they come here to Dallas and he shows out.
You already know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
You already know what's going to happen. I mean, I'm going to tell you like this. They call that thing karma. And if Dez was, I wasn't in them scenes, behind the scenes, so I don't know what really happened. I saw the All or Nothing. I had my views on it. I apologize publicly to Dez because I felt like, you know what, man, I was wrong. I felt like, Dak needed to have you away from him to really flourish, and that wasn't the case. You know what I'm saying? So I thoroughly apologize for that, you know what I mean? And for the way they did him, I didn't like how they did him, but I felt like there needed to be a move. I look at it now like, you know what? Dak was going to struggle regardless. So it wouldn't matter if Dez was there or not, for real. It was going to be a struggle regardless. But he became like the scapegoat of it. You know what I mean? So if you see Dallas Cowboys, first of all, if Dallas goes into Philly and lose, I don't see how they're even thinking about playoffs any longer. You know what I'm saying? 3-6 with the team that offense that they have, and no, I don't even see how we would even come back from that season. Then if they were to pick up Dez Bryant, it's already written in the heavens. You understand what I'm saying? That if Dallas were to struggle and the Saints were coming in town, do you know damn well that would be the game where Dez would go off? He probably would never have a great game the rest of the year, but he would probably go off that game, get like 5 catches, throw up the X, get 2 touchdowns over our cornerbacks, and it would just be like that poetic justice type thing, man. I'm telling you. That's the way the season. That's the way the season is going, and that's the way this thing is set up. How do you sit out and then the Saints offer you a contract, knowing that you could be playing the Cowboys in about 5 weeks? Come on, man. That stuff just don't happen.
Especially with them being a one-loss team, and I think other than maybe the Rams, the favorite in the NFC right now. Yeah, for sure.
I would love for him to get the Super Bowl.
I set that whole scene up nicely for you as you were going on there. I had flames all over the screen, so it didn't have maybe as much fire, but you were on point with what you're saying, and I was feeling it, so I threw that up there. But I agree. That's how the season feels like it's going, and I guess if you're Dallas, maybe the silver lining in this could be, if it does go south enough, could you finally get rid of Jason Garrett in the process? Which that's got to account for something, I feel, right?
I mean, that's what everybody would be kind of excited about, that happening. But the problem is, not the problem, but here's the thing. If they're going to do that, who's going to be the candidate? Who is Jerry going to take? Who's going to want to work underneath Jerry and the Joneses?
Yeah.
Yes, the facilities are out of this world. Yes, everything is state-of-the-art, top-notch, everything. But you still have to deal with them. Do you have the control? No. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Are you going to have the control? You're just going to be a coach. They're going to have the full control, and you're really not going to have any say. A lot of coaches kind of don't like that nowadays. They like to have their input on a lot of things that are going on within the team, because it feels like they're making the decisions as well, and it becomes their team. That's why I feel like Jimmy Johnson was so good with Jerry, because Jimmy Johnson and them, they were like hand in hand with that, and it kind of like he had some power with it. I don't know if the next coach would get any kind of power besides saying, this is the Joneses that we're going to do, and this is what we want you to do. I don't know if Dallas is going to still be effective that way.
Yeah, no, that's a fair point for sure. And everyone's been liking to cite or predict or wish for Lincoln Riley. I don't know that, to your point, that fits under Jerry, and I think part of why Jerry has dragged his feet for so long on Garrett, I think he's at the point where he's like, he feels like he's too old to start over again, right? Mm-hmm. And so he's so desperate to be right that he's not looking. Yeah, he's not looking through everything. Law had a great post on that. The whole sometimes it's the diagram thing where it's like sometimes it hurts more to hold on than to let go or something. It's like the strained hand with the rope or whatever. Yeah, that's definitely how this feels. It's definitely something where something's got to give. You can't have both together. You can't have Dak and Garrett. And to be honest, I still have not 100% given up on Dak. I've given up on Dak with this coaching staff and with this specifically offensive coordinator. I think you can do something with Dak. You just, for the love of God, have to get the right pairing with him. And if the new coach comes in and he doesn't improve or he doesn't turn around enough at when you get to that extension time in 2019, maybe then you reevaluate. You know what I mean? Like that's the time to do it. You have to see what he can do with a competent coaching staff.
Here's my thought on it. I'm sitting there thinking, and I see where Jerry, he's older. He doesn't want to change. Aikman mentioned in the article that he doesn't want to change that staff. He's hoping and praying that he gets it right with Garrett because he's a handpicked guy that he picked, and he wants it to work. He truly likes Garrett. He wants him to succeed, and he doesn't want to have to start over, especially with that's his guy. I mean, his father was underneath the Dallas Cowboys, so Jason. So that's like super family. But at the end of the day, if you get rid of Garrett, Jerry, what do you have to lose? Like, what were you winning with Garrett? That's what I want to know what you're holding on to. What were you winning with Garrett? What have you won with Garrett? In 9 years, one playoff game. And I'm going to keep on beating that dead horse. 9 years, one playoff game. You had 3 8-8 seasons, and people forget those 8-8 seasons like they were balling. No,
I don't.
They would have a 5-3 record, and then guess what? They would talk about the December swoon because they would lose big games in December all the time. And people need to. I brought this up as well on my show yesterday. DDP was that when Jason Garrett was the coach, he was the offensive coordinator as well. And then he got stripped of those play calling duties, and Bill Callahan took over. And why did he get stripped? Because people were criticizing Jason Garrett because they said he was making too many in-game bad decisions. And they
specifically clock management and things like that.
Right. And they said he couldn't do the play calling and coach at the same time. So Jerry heard that, stripped him of the play calling duties so he could just focus strictly on being the head coach and somebody could take over the coordinator. That's why he hasn't touched it since. Jerry wants him to focus on being the head coach. But even when you're being focused on the head coach, what did you win?
I think Garrett's looking for the scapegoat. I think as long as he has Linehan as a fallback, he thinks he can avoid that. Because if he takes the offense and it continues to flounder, then that's just one more thing on his plate. Whereas if Linehan's there, he thinks, oh, well, it's someone else's fault on that. And, I was stripped of play calling duty before. Well, I don't care if you were stripped of play calling duty before. If it's this bad, you as a head coach, let alone an offensive mind as what people tell us, you have to do something. Whether it's firing him and giving the responsibility to someone else or taking over yourself. And the fact that he won't do it, I just think he's trying to find one more, little life preserve or whatever thrown out into the ocean he's about to drown in, and he's just looking for that extra little excuse where he can be like, oh, see, it was stacked against me. Look at Linehan's play calling. I had no chance. He can't even use Zeke right, or he had Dak regress. He's looking for something.
Well, he's always got that excuse, but coaching does make a difference in players. We were talking a little bit earlier before you started out. I'll go back to when Bill Parcells came in and they wanted that tough, hard-nosed coach. People were getting fed up. I mean, those were the dark periods with Dave Campo. Those 3, 5, and 11 years were terrible. It was felt like no hope. But even in those games, people need to understand, even in those games with Dave Campo, they fought for him. I was going through their 2002 schedule. They were only losing games by 3 points, 7.6. They weren't getting blown out in those games, besides a couple if they were just supremely over-talented. But they fought for Campo. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But when you look at the transition to Bill Parcells, because Dallas wanted a coach to get things right, tired of losing. You had Quincy Carter, who comes in, who was uneven his first 2 years. He comes in his third year, becomes a starter, 16-game starter, and then lo and behold, you take Quincy Carter, who they were like, man, what is he doing? Because Quincy Carter drive you crazy. It was kind of like Dak. He'll throw you a laser, and then he'll come back and throw you an interception. Like, what are you doing, dude? But even then, check out these stats, DDP. Quincy Carter threw for 3,300 yards. He only completed 57% completion percentage, has 17 touchdowns, 21 interceptions, completed. The yard completion percentage was like 6.5.
Yeah.
And they went to the playoffs on that. And he only averaged 200 yards a game passing.
Yeah. And that's one of the other things, too. Looking at this game, you know, people like to say, like, oh, the minimum Dak should be graded by as if he threw for 200 yards. They didn't care if he threw for $186 and they won and the offense looked great. They wanted him to throw for 200. I think even in Jacksonville, I don't remember if he got 200 against Jacksonville. I would assume just given the score, but regardless, they had games where they would win and he would throw for like $186 and they'd be like, he didn't have a good game. And then here you go. Here's the last two games. He's thrown from north of 200 yards, but he's also had a couple turnovers and they've lost. Is that the minimum you want to grade by? No. Dallas has lost 13 straight games when turning the ball over more than once. That's a telling stat for not having resilience. If they can't take over, if they can't control the ball and just be, that's why they're so conservative. I guarantee they're aware of that. And I knew they were going to come out in this game conservatively. That's what that's just what I felt was going to be their reaction. And, you know, that it bit them. It bit them ultimately. So I don't know what to make of it. The team is a mess. It feels like that's been the case most years for a while now. The issues go all the way up the chain.
You know what I'm saying? It feels like this team is worse than 3-5. You know what I mean? And what makes it so bad is it's not like this team doesn't have talent.
Yeah.
Got a good defense. You look at, you know, you got a good defense. You got good talent on both sides of the ball. It's not like the cupboard is bare. You got to go to the draft and get, you know, trade players to bundle up your drafts. You have a good team. And that's the frustrating part to me is that you have talent on this team. You have enough talent on this team to get consistently to the playoffs every single year.
Yeah.
And you're not meeting those expectations. And that's the problem. And also, like I said, going back to that year I was talking about with Quincy Carter when he had that year, he got sacked a total of 37 times that year. Dak Prescott has already been sacked 28 times.
Which is sixth most in the NFL. That reminded me of that stat. I was sitting on that one too, and it slipped my mind earlier. Yeah.
I got the back down.
There you go. Hey, that's why we do this show as a team. But yeah, sixth most in the NFL. There's only one quarterback that's on a winning team that's been sacked more than him. That is Deshaun Watson, 6-3 Texans. He has been sacked twice more than Dak. So, yeah, the issues run deep. And the thing is, it's weird when you look at this team because you can look at, and we'll go into the wrap-up here. I know you're a little pressed on time, and I am too. But the issues for this team, it's almost like you can pull – almost depending on what stat you want to look at to make the case that, like, oh, see, Dak isn't the problem. It's the offensive line or it's the coaching staff. Or you could look at another one. It's like, see, Dak's the problem, not the offensive line. Like, there's so much data out there. That's why, like, me, generally a data-driven guy, I'm almost just like, the blame is everywhere, and I don't want to split hairs and all of that. Like, I'm going to look at the eyeball test and everything and say, that was a terrible play by Dak. That's terrible play calling by Linehan, like 2nd and goal from the 5 and you're throwing it. What are you doing?
Right.
You know, you can look across the board, like what is the offensive line doing? That's a costly penalty. And just as you run through it all, you're like, you know, eventually it comes to the conclusion that it's not just the players on the field. It's the head coach. It's some of the management decisions and things like that. Like you get to the point where you're like, the whole apple is rotten for the most part.
Right. That's what I said. It's a culture thing, man. That's why I said it last year. It was a culture thing, and I'm going to say it this year. And now, I'm not saying this is anything crazy. I know we've seen what happened with the Star with Kevin Bird. Got the interception on the Star and did the little dance. And all those guys on it.
Yep.
Now I know people won't, be like, oh, well, that ain't the reason why they lost. It's not. I'm not saying it is, but to me, it's still telling that Byron Jones was the only guy that went over there and actually let him do it. He went over there and did. And even when he did it, it was kind of a weak push, but
it wasn't blowing him up like Oh my
Yeah,
God,
it
why am
wasn't
I
like,
bl
yeah, what's up, dog? I'm gonna knock you over. It was all like, hey, don't do that.
Yeah, yeah, I was kind of pushing him like, guys, quit it.
Yeah, guys, don't do that. Don't step on our
No.
star like almost kind of like nicely. Don't do that. Okay, be respectful, guys. Come on, get
Yeah,
on over there.
yeah, no, for sure, for
And
sure.
I just feel like, you know what, we're not nasty, dog. Let me just get to it, DDP. We're not nasty. We're not mean. Mark Colombo, I hope that it was his first game, so we can't evaluate that.
Nah.
You know, that was his first game coming in on the fly within like a couple games, dude getting fired within the week. You know what I'm saying? He's taking over, so I can't expect miracles like that for Colombo. So I give him a little bit of a pass with that because I like Colombo, and he said he wanted to bring mean and nasty and the expectation back. So I like that and would give him a chance. But at the end of the day, we don't play mean, we don't play nasty, we don't play tough. We don't do that. Watch us as a whole. Yeah, we got good talent, but I don't feel like we're nasty. We ain't no nasty team. We ain't no team
Yeah,
and don't take no shit. We ain't one of them teams. We're a team that if you get up in us real quick, we kind of just, all right, you got us. That's what
right.
it feels like.
No, I absolutely agree. That has long since been the kind of the problem the team has had to deal with. So anyway, yeah. So thanks for coming on here. Tell them where they can find you. I mean, I know we're on your page and stuff as well, but maybe for some of the subscribers on my channel, whoa, background video just sprang to life.
Hey, welcome to the Fumble. I'm Britt
Hush.
Jones.
Yeah,
Make sure you click subscribe if you haven't
check me out on Big Game James, which is on right now. Appreciate everybody who was on there. I was trying to go through my comments, but my kind of feed was acting up, so I apologize if I didn't acknowledge anybody on the page. I'm sorry. I saw a few people, Terrell Scott, I believe, and some other people. Shout outs to you, salutes. Thank you for even jumping on there today and checking us out. You can also go to Silver and Blue Nation, Fan Chat Nation is what it is now. Check us out every Sunday. Usually we're on air there pregame, postgame. We'll be having some stuff during the week, so just keep in tune. You know we're always going to be cracking and doing things, and hopefully some good events are coming up soon. So just stay tuned. We love you.
Yeah, absolutely. I had one more quick question that just came to mind. Someone reminded me in the comments. Did you hear the injury for Connor Williams? Might having to get the knee scoped.
Yes, I did see that. I actually posted it where he was having his knee scoped, and they're going to see because they don't know if it's going to be an extended period of time.
Yeah.
Now, if that happens and he goes out, that's when they're talking about, with Colombo just coming in. Well, you see the move for La'el Collins to go from tackle. The guard of Connor Williams is out with that knee injury because Fleming is more of that right tackle. I mean, he was playing it all preseason. That's what he played at New England mostly. He was the right tackle.
Mm-hmm.
But you see Collins fly back in at that guard position. So that's something to see, and that's something to keep our eyes on. But I did see, I kind of didn't like it because I did post how he did need his knee scope.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of people that were hating on him, like, yeah, he needs to be out anyway. He wasn't doing anything. I don't appreciate that kind of stuff.
No, that's never cool.
He's a second rounder, and even I've been critical of him, but it hasn't been like he hasn't been a good rookie this year. He's just been a little undersized, and he's going to have to get bigger, and we should already have to acknowledge that. And it's not his fault the Cowboys threw him straight in that starting left guard.
For sure.
It's his fault.
For
you
sure.
know what I'm saying? It's not his fault that they put him at that position. He's only playing where they put him. So we have to understand that he came in undersized. What guys did you see 295, 300-pound guards, dog, that aren't? He's not thick. Those guards get muscled, man. That's just reality of it. So it's not just his fault. We got to give him time. But don't just dog him and say, oh, he's injured and discredit him. He could be a very good rookie for us. I mean, and I think we need to give him some more time.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. But, all right, well, for those who want to support the Dallas Prospect, follow us on Facebook, or I guess like us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter. I've been intermittently throughout the show throwing up the graphic with the Twitter handle and all that. At Dallas Prospect, or if you want my page, at DDP_journalist. If you want to read my articles, they are up on DallasSportsFanatic.com and TheDallasProspect.com. And hey, if you really want to show us love, we got a Patreon that you can support, gets you discounts towards merch and all that. So that's going to do it for this show, guys. Appreciate everyone for watching, tuning in. James, of course, appreciate you coming on, buddy. And Yeah, absolutely. And we will be back, I guess, Thursday, so pretty quick to do if you're available, of course, I'll be here. But to do the preview for the next game, which is, I hadn't even flipped my mind towards that yet. Who's next?
Eagles.
Oh boy, gonna be a fun week.
Yeah.
But all right, well, that's all our time for this show, guys. Thanks for tuning in, and remember, every legend was once a prospect. Salute.